Hello everyone and welcome to another What I Think Mega Review. This is part 3 of my reviews for the Doctor Who B&M sets for November 2022, and today we're going to be looking at the new First Doctor and Electronic TARDIS set, which of course comes with an Electronic TARDIS and a First Doctor figure, but this is a First Doctor figure with a new head sculpt as seen, or as appears, as David Bradley in Adventure in Space and Time and Twice Upon a Time. But we're going to come back to the figure in a minute, because I just want to do a little bit of talking about the box first of all, both positive and negative. So, positive-wise, we've got a brand new sort of box style and box size. It is much narrower. Now this does mean that we don't have the Doctor next to the TARDIS and there is no interior backdrop. But again, rather like I said on the Dalek sets, personally, interior backdrops are always a bit of a luxury. And personally, I actually do kind of prefer this style of box. You know, obviously the TARDIS is hidden behind the Doctor, but you've got the Doctor there, you've got the TARDIS there. It means a bit less packaging, and size-wise as well, it means that it'd be a bit easier to store and display. So, personally, I like this new box style, except it does not have any plastic covering on it, which is something which is definitely something which has already been noticed by other people, and I have to say I really think that this is a bad move. You know, I try to be positive, and I get that this is probably to do with environmental reasons, less plastic, etc. But it just I think it's a bit of a mistake, because as I said about this on the History of the Dalek sets, obviously the History of the Dalek sets have a bubble pack in them now, so it wouldn't be easy, but it wouldn't be too difficult for somebody to come in and just take the bubble pack out and take the Daleks out of the box. With this, obviously the figure is you know, tied into the box, but it's much easier for somebody to get it out and things like that. But I want to make a point of saying as well that I would assume that this particular head sculpt is put onto the body in the same way that the previous First Doctor heads were, in that it's just on a peg. And obviously this is a First Doctor and Electronic TARDIS set, so I'm not saying that people aren't going to be after the Electronic TARDIS as well, but I think the new updated figure with the head sculpt is something which people are going to be after, and I'm not going to try and do it because I don't obviously want to ruin it before I've got it out of the box. But if this is on the peg in the same way, I honestly can't see what's to prevent somebody just coming in and pulling that off and legging it. You know, I don't want to give people the idea to do that. I think if you do that, shame on you. You know, that is theft, end of. But without the lack of the plastic, with the lack of the plastic packaging in there, I'm just saying it's a distinct possibility. You know, I do have to draw attention to that, because I don't feel I would be reviewing it fairly if I didn't. I think, you know, in terms of the box packaging, what I would do, obviously I realise I haven't shown the back of the box. On the back of the box we've got First Doctor and Electronic TARDIS set. A bit of a nice quote from the First Doctor about the wonders of the fourth dimension. Bit of information about the First Doctor, and then exactly what this is a figure set of. But obviously on the back we've got nice bit of information, nicely fits onto the box. It's nice and neat, there's no empty space and things like that. If we bring it round to this side, you would have a nice open window here. Looks very good. If you had a bit of plastic in there, bring it round to the front, bit of plastic in there, nicely displayed. And then on this side, what I would personally do is actually not have plastic, make this, to reduce plastic, make this a piece of card that matches in with the rest. And then, as we have seen them do on some other previous releases, have a picture of what is in the set on there. I know, you know, that seems a bit odd when you've got the set actually here and you can see it, but in the interest of just reducing a bit of plastic and not leaving a blank space on the box, make that card, put a picture of the TARDIS and the First Doctor on there. I think that would be great. Or alternatively, actually, better idea, which has just come up to the top of my head, don't put a picture of the figure, put a picture of what it represents from the show. So a picture of a still picture of David Bradley and the TARDIS on there, and then you've got a little bit of representation of what the set actually represents. Now I think about it, that's a much better idea, because obviously on some of the you know, on the very older classic figure ranges, where we'd had them in the sort of bubble pack with the orange and blue packaging, you would have a little sort of image on the bottom bar of what was actually the set represented, what character, a real picture of the actor, I think that would be perfect to have on there. So yeah, I was about to say, you know, if CEO, if you are listening, I know my reviews are watched, so I hope that they take this on board. Yeah, please, plastic back on that front, and on that front, and then give us a nice image of something that the represents on there. Information on the back of the box, love that, fantastic to see that in there. Love the box size as well, but yeah, I think it just needs to have the plastic back in there, because I think that would make a lot more fans happy. And speaking personally, and touching on something which I mentioned in the previous reviews I did of some of the other sets, there were polls and things where people asked, would you be willing to pay a bit more if it meant we got you know, some changes back to the sets, i.e. with the plastic in them, and I think people were prepared to pay a bit more. So I can only speak personally, but you know, at the end of the day, if it meant we got the plastic back in this set, because I'm definitely going to go and buy another one of these, I want to make that clear as well. I appreciate I have been given these for review, but I do like to go out and buy them as well when I can. Personally, put the plastic back in. I would be more than happy to pay a little bit more to offset the cost of that. And again, by just having it on the two sides, you could have a bit more, a bit less plastic in it as well. I mean, you know, as I said, nice still image of what's actually represented, but this side, honestly, you could put the figure and picture of the figure on that side as well, and just have plastic on the front. You know, it's, you know, I know it seems like I'm harping on about this a lot, but it is something which I know has drawn a lot of attention, and it is something which I think does need to be changed. And again, you know, I get that it's about reducing plastic use, I get that it's about environmental concerns and things like that, but there are other ways around it than removing it entirely. And if such ways do cost a bit more in terms of production, I think most people, most fans who are really after the figures, would be more than happy to pay a little bit more to offset that. But that's enough about the box. Let's have a look at what we've got inside. Okay, I just want to do a little quick extra bit about the box in terms of taking this out of the box, because what I actually decided to do first of all was to open the box at the top, as I think most people are going to do, but it's actually easier to take it out of the bottom of the box. And the reason being is, once you've opened it up, if you cut these flaps off and then you can just pull this bit down, you can then get into it. The actual bit that holds the Bradley figure in is secured to the bottom of the box by a flap here, but it is also tied around the back of the box, and it has a sort of hook fastener on the back. So what you can do is unfasten it at the back, which will then allow the TARDIS to easily be taken out. And then obviously if you want to put it back inside the box, you can then hook it back together so it's all in there. The Bradley figure, I would assume once I've cut the ties to get it out, I'm going to have to use maybe some little plastic ties or something to fit it back in. But I know that these figures do fit fairly snug into the plastic insert, so it might just slot in as well, but you know, it's just worth pointing that out. But I wanted to bring this up just purely because, as I said, like most people, taking out the top of the box is what I would assume to do. But if you want to put it back into the display box, open it from the bottom like this. Like I said, take off the screws, undo the fastenings for the figure. Yeah, it's not necessarily part of this review, but I do think it's very it's good for other people who are going to get this and may want to put it back in the box for display, you know, so you can see how it all sort of comes out and can be put back together. So first up, here we have the First Doctor figure. Very nice representation of the First Doctor from An Adventure in Space and Time. If I turn it around, you can see overall the figure is more or less the same as the previous ones in terms of the actual figure itself, but obviously it's the head sculpt that is brand new, so I want to do a close-up on that to give you a look of how that looks. So in terms of the head sculpt, I think it's an absolutely fantastic likeness of David Bradley. I think it really does looks the part. It's brilliant to see his Doctor, you know, his portrayal of the First Doctor represented like this in figure form. Obviously, it would be nice if we had the Richard Herndl one day to complete the set, but I highly doubt that's ever going to happen, unfortunately. I believe that the sculpt for that, or the moulding for that, deteriorated or went missing or something like that, and I don't think it's on the cards to probably ever happen, but you never know. You know, we might get it. It would be very nice to see the set completed, but yeah, I'm really pleased to see this version of the First Doctor release. And you know, the nice thing about this as well is, obviously, I know that there's going to be people out there hoping for a non-hatted version. I would like to see that as well. But for the hatted version, it would be so simple now for them to do an adventure in space and time version, just by repainting the scarf white as well. I think he does have the cloak in that episode, so I don't know if they would do the cloak as well. But even then, you know, just having the scarf and this head on the hatted version, you could do an updated version of Bill Potts from that episode, and then possibly an updated 12th Doctor in his sort of regeneration outfit. That would be an absolutely fantastic triple pack to see in future, I would hope. But yeah, the figure-wise, like I said, there's not a huge amount to say about it. It is a very simple variant, but it is an absolutely wonderful variant. But let's get on to having a look at the electronic TARDIS itself. So here we have the TARDIS, obviously lights and sounds. It has electronics, obviously the light lights up, so if I pick it up, it has two different takeoff effects and landing effects, so I'm going to try and get them all on camera. So takeoff. So that was takeoff effect 1, and as you can see, the lamp glows for a little bit as well. Landing. And hopefully we can get the next alternative takeoff sounds. And hopefully the alternative landing. So there you have those. I'm just going to turn those off because otherwise they will interrupt the review as I'm going through it. So there we have the takeoff and landing. They sound very good. Now, one other thing that I will just quickly mention, because I forgot to mention it in the previous one, the idea of being able to just slot the First Doctor figure back into the front of the little plastic bit he holds in. It does fit in, it does hold him in place, so even if the ties are taken off to take him out, he can just be put back in the box. Just wanted to mention that quickly now. But overall, the TARDIS looks very good. So this is basically just a repainted version of the previous First Doctor TARDIS set we'd have. Obviously, we've got a much lighter TARDIS with more weathering. We've got the weathered St. John's Ambulance, nice weathered signage, and then the base is a slightly darker blue as well. I do need to go back and re-watch An Adventure in Space and Time. I don't know if that was actually how it was in the episode, but you know, I quite like it. It makes this variant a little bit more unique. Obviously, we've got the newer updated roof as well on the back. Obviously, you've got the battery compartment and the grille. And then this has also got the new windows with the bottom lip. Other than that, you know, there's not a huge amount to say about this TARDIS, but I think it is definitely one that that is going to be very popular. Partly because of the David Bradley figure, but also the TARDIS, just this blue very specifically, is just a very recognisable TARDIS blue, and I think this is definitely one that I think people are gonna go towards. You know, not that there was anything wrong with the previous First Doctor TARDIS. It had a slightly more sort of darker navy blue, more akin to how the base is on this one, which looked very good. It did look the part, but I think this brighter blue just has a bit more of a sort of Technicolor look, for lack of a better way of putting it, but it really does look the part, and absolutely really does look fantastic. And it's great to see the, you know, the lights and sounds as well. Obviously as well, doors do open. This one obviously just pulls back in, and then you've got the button down here to close this one as well. Obviously no interior card or anything like that. I know that that is something which other people, you know, people have asked about before, and you know, I'm not going to deny it would be nice to see, but again, I can understand why it's not in there. And you know, if you did want to put one in, it isn't something that's too difficult to do yourself. So yeah, I'm not gonna make a point of not having that, because it's not something we've ever had on classic TARDISes before, so I don't see why they would start doing it now, especially given that to really make it look the part, you would have to have a whole new plastic backdrop piece, as you've had on the new series TARDISes, in order to put it onto something. So it would require a lot of retooling. But yeah, I think this looks absolutely fantastic. Really, really does look the part from, especially an adventure in space and time, especially when you bring them together, like so. Yeah, this is definitely going to be a fantastic set. In going back to the box, I really love the newer box style of the sort of narrower, smaller box. As I said, it's a shame to lose the backdrop insert, but that's a sacrifice I'm willing to make. The box looks great. What we get in the set looks great. I cannot stress enough for CO to please bring back the plastic in the box, even if it's just on the two faces, on the side faces, like I said, and then you've got a picture representation of what the set represents. If you had an actual still of David Bradley from Adventure in Space and Time, of him, and then the TARDIS in the background, and then I think there's a camera on the left as well, or just a mock-up of some kind of him, I think it would look absolutely fantastic. It really would just tip the set off and make it, if it was not for the lack of plastic in the box frame, genuinely I don't think I'd have anything bad to say about this set at all. Like I said, we've lost the backdrop, but I accept that as a sacrifice, okay? The plastic window is really the only bad thing, or the lack of is the only bad thing I have to say about this set. I think it's absolutely stellar. It is going to be... Okay, I'm going to make a bold move here. Of all of the B&M TARDIS sets, I genuinely think this may be the best one we've had so far. And, the reason I say the B&M sets is because obviously we have had the... CO exclusive Second Doctor TARDIS set. That is fantastic as well, and it really is on par with this one. But yeah, in terms of the actual sets we've got, I've loved all the other sets, do not get me wrong, they have all been absolute corkers, but this one is just phenomenal. I think it is definitely one of the best ones they've made so far, and if it was just for the box having that plastic window in, it hands down, I would have said it's one of the best B&M sets we've seen today. I really would, and I'm saying that even having looked at the Davros set, which was brilliant, but First Doctor electronic TARDIS in a nice, easily sort of presentable box, nice, good size to it. As I said, I really don't have anything bad to say about it other than the plastic. So I really hope CO are listening. I really hope that they do take some of these things on board. As I said, I do appreciate they have their limitations as a company. They do have to consider their impact on the environment. But like I said, a little bit of plastic, a little bit of more plastic in there, perhaps a little bit of more price to it. Redesign the box a little bit, which I'm assuming they may have to do anyway with the new logo coming in. It's just worth consideration. That's all. That's what I'm going to leave this on. CO, if you are watching this, please just consider the things I've said about the box in this, because I think it is something which I think needs to be looked into. And I think, whilst I think some fans would complain about not getting the backdrops and everything else, and I think the majority of fans would be willing to compromise a little on some things. But that brings to a close part 3 of my mega review. I'm still waiting to get the Daleks. I'm hoping that they will be coming in part 4 soon enough, but if I see them in stores beforehand, I'll go and get them, and I will review them as soon as I have them. As always, I hope you all enjoyed this video. Like, favorite, subscribe, share, it really helps me a lot. And be sure to description below for a link to my Patreon. I'm doing my very first figure animation, and you can get involved. There's exclusive content and rewards for those who do so, and funding my Patreon in any way gets your name at the end of my videos. I salute you all, and I will see you with another video very soon.